Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishwaro Guratmeti Multibeda Vibhagine Vyomavda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshimaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste Mandukya Karika. We are coming to the end of it. Verse 46. Gaudapada carries on his talks on the logic that established the no origination, no creation of this Jagata or Mithya universe. Therefore, thus consciousness is not born. Verse 46. Thus consciousness was never born, and thus jivas are also considered to be unborn. Only those who know thus do not fall into misfortune. Interesting play of different words here. First consciousness, as we know, is it is that which is always ever present as the only reality. So it's beyond time, beyond eternity, beyond birth and death. It's something that it's difficult to put in words, because in order to explain something, we need to be within duality. We need to have all the opposite pairs so that we can talk. All language is based on the opposite pairs to describe attributes and qualities or properties of this or that. But consciousness it does not have any attribute, because it's not born, it will never die. It's beyond anything that we could call to be eternal, because eternal is is a concept which does not stand unless there is mortality on the other end, holding the concept of eternity. Understand? So consciousness is beyond everything. No words can describe it. But the point here is to say that consciousness of Brahman was never originated, was never born. And this is easy for most Vedantins to understand. But then how about Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata? So Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata are considered to be unborn as well. It is a mirage, a projection that it's eternally there, sometimes manifest, sometimes unmanifest. It's an apparent reality, such as a mirage, which is there. Sometimes it's not there, but when you look very clearly, it's never really there, because it's just a projection, appearance, such as the dream world. So jivas, therefore, are considered to be eternal principle, the concept of the eternal jiva. It's eternal principle, but it is eternally, apparently existing. You understand? The fact that it's eternal, the eternal Mithya, it's a power that's there. The eternal Maya, it's there, but is it real? No, but it is something that is available for what? For ETU, experience, transaction, and utility. So what is the utility of this projection? As I often like to say, is to understand the reality within the apparent reality. That is the ultimate utility of this projection, is to capture the screen of consciousness reflecting this world of multitude of namarupas. Jivas are considered to be unborn. Only those who know this as a fact do not fall in misfortune. So what is fortune and misfortune? So only those who know that do not fall into fortune or misfortune, because all pair of opposites, they belong to Mithya, order of reality. But the Jiva wants self-knowledge so that it can have a good time. And it goes to represent misfortune, an experience of peace, of ananda, of satisfaction, of wholeness and completion. So only those who understand that is going to enjoy the passage, apparent passage here as an entity experience this Maya Mithya world. Therefore, one should conclude that there is no duality, there is no origination, there is no plurality, and there is no movement. And now Swami Gaudapada presents a very nice, beautiful, profound analogy of the pattern that can be developed with a stick in fire or glowing, with brasa, no? I don't know how to say that. That you do like that in a dark night and you see several patterns. We do that with incense stick to make it more easy, to understand in a dark room. So conclude that there is no duality in the origination and there is no movement. In that duality, the most important, the most fundamental true thing is I myself. So because everything is happening within myself. Without me, this pluralistic universe and dynamically moving universe cannot exist. Therefore, this Jivatma is the most important participant in this show, human Jivatma. So the status of the human Jivatma must be clearly understood, because the whole project seems to be just there, being held for the sake of Jesus. Special Jivatma, the humans, that somehow have an intellect with the ability or potential to understand the reality we see, the irreality. If the status of the Jivatma is not properly understood, there will be much problems. If the Jivatma is considered something that was born and will die, so the status of this Jivatma as a mortal being will suffer the concepts of birth, old age, and death. And it will also suffer the duality, I, Jivatma, the experiencer, and the world of objects, always moving and changing before me. So he's going to experience this duality and the dynamic movements and changes in duality. And that is a huge problem, because that makes any entity to feel insecure. You're in the world, everything is moving and changing, your body is changing, your mind is changing. How can one feel at ease with something that offers no stability? Everything is moving. All of that because I took the world to be real, and I took the world to have been created. If the Jivatma is considered to be born, we will get into all kinds of problems. This leads to the illness or sickness of samsara, which is very painful. One has to come out of the notion of individual jiva have been created, born, originate, and claim one's true nature as the consciousness in which Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata appear to emerge. Only then one can relax in life. So only then one can relax in life. So all of this just to relax in life. So there should be more than that, Lynn. Come on. I'm going to go through this process just that I want to have some transcendental, magical, extraordinary experience. You understand? I want to have the ultimate pleasurable experience of interdimensions, superior dimensions, celestial dimensions, fifth dimension. There must be something other than just relaxing in life. Maya is so seductive. It seduces people into all kinds of dualities as if they are superior to self-knowledge, which as its fruits is going to provide us with peace and relaxation. That's all there is, and wisdom. Wisdom is the most important. Wisdom with respect to any aspect of knowledge relate to this media universe. Gaudapada is pointing out that there are two power obstacles for gaining this very fearful Advaita Jnana, this Atma Jnana, the Jnana, the knowledge of the true nature of reality, true nature of the self as one without a second, one without any part, that which is not divided. So this seems to be very, very scary and threatening the Jivatma who got used to lean on objects. That's why scriptures on the Advaita Vedanta knowledge are not introduced for people who are not qualified. You know, in the beginning, nobody is qualified, and some people are never really qualified. Most difficult thing is to find somebody really qualified for a text like such as the one we are doing here. It's almost impossible to find someone qualified, you know? So that's why scripture should never be given to people who are not qualified. In the Vedapurva Bhaga, the scriptures talk only about Dvaitam. Just as a mother used the language of a child for communication with the child, the Veda used this, infantile language of duality so that the child can grow until it can handle a different kind of conversation. Using the Dvaita temporarily, the Vedas introduce karma, dharma, upasana yogas, all of that to strengthen and purify and refine our minds, to make us more mature so that these two power obstacles can be avoided or removed or neutralized. These obstacles are very interesting because fundamentally in the verse that originates all of this thought, the obstacle is just, I can't really accept the fact that this world is not real, this awakening world. Why? Because it's available for experience. I transact in it every day. And there is a lot of good things that have utilitarian value. This is the first thing I present in that verse. It's all about that. It has ETU, and it is intelligently structured. It's so beautifully, intelligently structured that gives us impression of reality. It has so much knowledge embedded in it, you understand? I mean, we say that this is real, but it's so freaking intelligently structured and designed and sustained. It's so much knowledge to hold this project in place that people, they say, no, I mean, it must be real, you understand? Must be real. But then Swami, he takes that, this aspect of the obstacle, which is there in the verse, and he develops more on a practical, emotional level. We're going to see. He does not say much as the verse was saying, as I'm just saying now, which is more the aspect of more philosophical. Né? So the obstacle number one is we conclude that the world is real because we experience it every day. We transact, you know, we find good things, pleasurable things, and I cannot deny the existence of something that I experience, and I live within it, I transact in it, and I find many utilitarian values in it. So it cannot be unreal. You know, this is one thing, and it's easy to understand why people fall for it and why people never come to the point, very rarely come to the point to accept these final teachings of the Upanishad. So we say that it's okay, it's available, it can be experienced, you transact, you live. In fact, you were born in it, you know, you find some good things to enjoy. But none of this is really giving you the happiness that you wish to have, okay? The happiness exists in your very existence. So it is not really real, but it's conditionally real. It's relatively real. It's apparently real. We can just trick playing with words so that the intellect can somehow digest the fact that it's not absolutely real, but there is some degree of reality, you know? So if you say, no, it's absolutely unreal, that, oh, no, no, and I'm walk away from here. These guys are crazy. No, there is some degree of reality. This degree of reality is a meteor reality, which is not really exactly like a mirage, but it's available for experience. When you put this meteor universe really, really described as a mirage, this is the most radical analogy because everybody knows that the mirage is available for experience, but it's absolutely not real, you know? And then we use more often the dream state. The dream state is available for us every day, but it's absolutely not real. No, it's not real. So this projection, this Vyavaharika of the awake state, likewise, is available for all of us, but it is not really real. It's conditionally real. It is apparently real. It's temporarily real, you know, and we take the dream world and dwell on it. We take the mirage example, we dwell on it, and then slowly we understand that this is just a reflecting consciousness. This assimilation is very important for getting out of the first obstacle, which is the belief that the world is real, and I keep holding this attribution of reality subconsciously, unconsciously, and even consciously, instead fighting these teachings of the Upanishads. The second obstacle is even more powerful because it is emotionally centered. He presents the second one, you know, is practically emotionally non-understood from that angle. Yeah? So we see the world, we hear that the world is not real, but somehow we find emotional support in things such as Ishwara and objects and people that somehow gives me a small sense of support and security and so on. So therefore, I get attached to it. I get attached to people, things, circumstance, events. Our comfort, the little comfort and peace I experience is based on the assumption that at least there are some things in this world that provides me with a sense of emotional support, okay? And we know that. This is similar to a baby playing happily when the mother is somewhere around. We want emotional support in the form of worldly relationships, religious relationships, which is the sacred relationship with an external God. Thus, Dvaita seems to give us some support. We have then developed a strong attachment to Dvaita. Religious attachment is often more powerful than worldly attachment. That's a very interesting statement. Religious attachment seems to be more often more powerful than worldly attachment. Gaudapada is knocking off all kinds of duality, all kinds of attachments, both religious, secular, sacred or secular, and through this powerful logic. The logic he presents may be intellectually convincing, but emotionally it's still difficult to digest it, okay, due to our attachments. Advaita is frightening. In many religions, moksha is present in dualistic terms, in which the devotee of God, the God-devotee duality, so the relationship, the devotee and God duality is maintained. And moksha is a condition in which the devotee lives with God happily for a long period of time. So in most religions, there is a sense, there is a concept close to moksha, but it's not really moksha in the sense of the word, the real sense of the word, because you don't really enjoy independent freedom, but you enjoy a certain degree of peace and satisfaction or punya due to your devotee God dualistic relationship. You learn to bring God into your life, understand the nature of God, comply with its laws and principles, live in harmony with the karma and the laws. Among most of the laws, the most important is karma. And then you start getting punya from the Lord, and then you live happily, and then you experience a sense of peace and satisfaction. But it's not the peace of satisfaction of knowing Aham Brahmasmi, I am that beyond God, considering that Gaudapada negates also this duality, this sort of moksha or satisfaction due to the relationship with the Lord that provides you with spiritual punya. Considering that Gaudapada negates this also, some people call him an atheistic Buddhist disguised as a Vedanta teacher. This is lovely. Because even in the Vedanta circles, there is a strong investment in Dvaita. Okay? Why? Because Karma Yoga is there, cause and effect is there, and you can be a religious person without assimilating the nature of reality as non-duality. You just keep yourself, stay yourself in the triangle mode, and then you bring Shwara and then the world and you do actions in a such manner with a certain attitude, and that is going to give you peace and satisfaction. And Gaudapada says, this is not it. This is not it. And then people say, oh my God, Gaudapada is throwing God out of the window exactly like Buddhists have done. Gaudapada is rejecting God. No, Gaudapada is not rejecting God. Gaudapada is going all the way to the true nature of God, which is identical to the true nature of Jiva Atma, and saying that only that understanding provides true moksha and peace and satisfaction. But most of these, even Vedantic circles, they stay more in the triangle mode, format. And the idea that you say, no, I am, Ishwara is something, Jiva is something, and Jagat is something apparently superimposed upon myself, and I am consciousness, I am Brahman. And then people say, oh my God, this guy is really tripping. Now he believes himself to be beyond Ishwara, He believes that Ishwara is just a concept, it's just an appearance within himself as consciousness. So they called him, they said, this is not really a Vedantic teacher, but he's an atheistic disguised as a Vedanta teacher. When the fear of Advaita comes, how should we handle this fear? Spiritual progress is worldly dependence to God. Spiritual progress, when you are afraid of Advaita, how are you going to handle your spiritual progress? You just make a spiritual progress as a transfer from dependence on the world to dependence on God, which is a good first step to be done. But the ultimate spiritual progress is the transfer, converting dependence on Ishwara, the creator, to independence or self-dependence. Self-dependence means the self has been transformed. The Jivatma has been transformed. He knows itself as the only fundamental intrinsic nature of the entire cosmos. Self-dependence does not refer to the ego of the Jivatma, because the Jivatma is just more in its body-mind complex nature. It's just more of an object within this projection. So the Jiva Atma is all depending on something. When one comes to self-dependence, the self is understood not to be the Jiva Atma, but the Atma of the Jiva, as I have been pointing lately. When we come to self-dependence, the self is understood to be the Atma of the Jiva, and not the Jiva of the Atma. When I have woken up to the waker true nature, which is Paramatma, Advaita is no more fearful, but Advaita is just a source of fullness, wholeness, and completion that gives us a sense of confidence and security that nothing can affect me because I am Ananda, one without a second, limitless consciousness, Advaitam. I do not need any support, but the entire cosmos depends on me for supporting. Until the conviction comes, one should continue in the triangle format and transferring one's dependence to God from the mundane dependence of samsara, the mundane material of samsara, and then the sacred samsara. You just go all the way to understand that if I have to be dependent, I'm going to be dependent on the supreme intelligence that is holding this projection on all kinds of realms or dimensions defined by frequencies of energies. Once in a while, I should try to come out of that dependence. I'm dependent on God, it's okay. Once in a while, I go back to Advaita Vedanta and I try to establish myself as independent. And then you see how it feels. Otherwise, one will always remain in the triangular format. Never settle totally, definitely for the triangular format. Here and there, try to come out of it by understanding that one can stand upon one's own emotional feet. Beautiful. One can emotionally stand upon one's true nature. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes that state. Sometimes some use the word state. It's a state, it's a mental state of the Jiva Atma. Once it's understood that he's the Atma of the Jiva, and then the body-mind still is going to experience the world, but in a different state. What kind of different state? Oh, it's a state that only the Yanis know, and the scriptures describe over and over and over again, such as like now, when a person gives up the desires for objects of the material world, why are you going to give up? Because you understood. What you understood? I understood that all these objects of the material world are not fundamentally a source of happiness, peace, and satisfaction. Therefore, I'm done with searching for happiness, peace, and satisfaction in this material world. So I give up because I understood that. Understand that is not enough. Otherwise, the person comes into depression, falls into depression. I need to understand where happiness is not, but then at the same time, I have to understand where happiness is. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, oh, this is the nightmare. This is the night, how you say? The dark night of the soul. No, I have to understand where happiness, peace, and satisfaction is not, and then where it is. The desires appear in my mind, and I just give them up. This is sadhana, very subtle sadhana. Once a person comes to that level, giving up desires as they come in the mind, knowing that none of those thoughts, desiring thoughts, relate to object, none of that contains the happiness you are trying to establish yourself in. Once you understand that, you just easily give up. You understand that those desires are not going to deliver. The only source of happiness is in my own existence, my own conscious existence. As they appear in my mind, I just give them up. This person gives up moment to moment and therefore remains happy in oneself, one with oneself, alone, the only reality. Arjuna, that person is said to be of ascertained knowledge. What is ascertained? Firm knowledge. Huh? That person is said to be of ascertained knowledge, firm knowledge. And I had a good conversation with a student of mine here in Brazil, and it was very profound because he has a very good self-knowledge, but he's still there practicing or fighting any kind of impurity or thoughts that are going to be contradictory to its nature. And he's still very much involved in all of that, and he's a very disciplined and guy. And then he has the energy. He really is all the time looking for bits and pieces of ignorance, discriminating them. And he's very dynamic doing all of that. And that's okay. That's good. I was bringing to his attention the fact that as one gets more and more properly established in this natural state, which is based on this firm and clear knowledge in regards to your true identity nature, all those disciplines and vigilance, they disappear. All discrimination disappear, you know? It's just naturally you just enjoy your existence in spite of experience of more pleasure, less pleasure, some pain, no pain. You just see yourself as a witnessing conscious principle, which is not affected by the world. That is the person to be said to have a firm and clear knowledge. The person, he does not even need to do the discipline of vigilance to give up this and give up that. It's just enjoying its own existence in spite of experience of all pair of opposites. That person is said to be one with firm knowledge. The world does not have origination, does not have true existence, but its own appearance in me as consciousness, and I am the adhisthana of the waker's world, just like I am the adhisthana of the dream world. So there is only one fundamental basic support, which is consciousness. Oh, but the dream world occurs in my mind, and your mind is not apart from consciousness. It's all happening in consciousness there in a different state, and then you say, oh, it's happening in my mind. No, it's happening in consciousness through an instrument which is tuned in a different state. It's all happening in consciousness, and I am that consciousness. I am the adhisthana of the waker, and I am the adhisthana of the dreamer. With the Nidra Shakti of Maya, I support the dream world, and with the Maya Shakti, I support this awakening world. Powerful statement. In this manner, all the Jivatmas are not really Jivatmas with a date of birth and a date of death. We have to break the limiting shackles. The Jivatmas are not born at all. They are eternal principle, and they are of the nature of consciousness. Jivatma is more easily understood as an eternal principle, described beautifully in the Panchadas as a reflection of original limitless consciousness on the subtle body of these organisms with three bodies: causal body, subtle body, and physical body. We have a Jivatma, some living creature with sentience, perceiving the environment around and respond to the stimulus coming from the environment. So this Jivatma is eternal principle. They reflect consciousness. And the nature of this reflect consciousness is identical to original consciousness. All we need to do is to claim our true nature as original consciousness that I experienced as the mind, reflected consciousness or human consciousness. By human consciousness, fundamentally is of the nature of limitless, non-dual consciousness. The body is an appearance caused by Maya Shakti. Only if you know this, you can be out of the samsara. You need to know that. The only way out. By knowing in this manner, only by knowing in this manner, Ayani jumps out of the samsara. We saw the other day, I think, the samsara being present with this wheel in the park. I don't know if it was here or it was in my Portuguese class. In the big park, we have the wheel. Yeah? So you jump into the wheel. If there is something wrong with the motor there, it never stops. How are you gonna do? You have to jump. You may hurt yourself, but you have to jump. And this knowledge allows us to jump out of the samsara chakra without hurting ourselves, but with great fun. Having the notion that one is born out of Brahman or God is, or part of God leads to samsara. Knowing that one, having the notion that I was born out of God and I'm part of God living in this Jagata world is a different kind of samsara, sacred to a spiritual samsara. It's much better than believing or holding the notion that I was born out of matter. You know, the materialist, no, it's just consciousness. The mind is born, they call the mind conscious. The consciousness is born out of matter. Good luck. The inert, stupid matter producing consciousness. Now I'm a full-on materialist. And I don't understand that God is consciousness. So, Jivatmas, the body is an appearance. Only by knowing that we can jump out of the samsara chakra. By knowing this, the yani avoids samsara. Having the notion that I was born out of God, I transfer my dependence to God and I live in the sacred samsara. Knowing that one is identical to God, Aham Brahmasmi alone will get me out of samsara. Very simple. Very, very simple. And there is a discussion or a conversation sometimes here and there, but it sounds good. But so how am I going to do it? That is the most difficult thing to explain. And then someone will say, fake it until you make it. And what you see mostly around is people trying to fake it, writing big things which do not represent their true experience, you know, because you want to experience your fullness. And you can just fake intellectually in the beginning. There is this concept of faking. You should not fake it emotionally. And by intellect, what is the difference? So I say, no, I am of the nature of consciousness. I am a whole, full, and complete. Nothing can be added or subtracted by me, to me. But I don't have a full experience of that reality. Intellectually, I hold on to it and I keep holding. No, but that's the fact. I am whole, full, and complete. If here and then I act in contradiction to that, is because there is some bits and pieces of ignorance, of vidya, maya, you know, objecting my intellectual realization. We need to fake it intellectually, hold to it intellectually until it becomes demonstrated in our lives. You understand? How are we going to do that? Aham Brahmasmi is going to free the person out of samsara. And then a lot of people get confused. They say, okay, a humble must be. I understood to read, teacher. So why I'm not experiencing this as a fact? You understand? So just hold on to that, understand it better. Try to understand the obstructions, such as what Swami is presenting here. You understand? It's an old vasana that somehow makes us all lean on the world, on objects of the world. And then once you establish dependence in this world, you'll have an intellect that is already compromised, because nobody can have a clear intellect living in a condition of attachment and dependence. The intellect is always afraid. Understand is everything. Understand why your mind is not prepped enough, is not really qualified. There are attachments. There are a lot of, things that I'm hooked, independent, and that itself is going to affect my intellect and my faculty of discrimination. So understanding why and how these obstacles somehow prevent me from claiming and owning my true nature as limitless consciousness. From the next few verses onward, the Gaudapada talks about a famous example, which is really beautiful. From the verse 47, just as the appearance of straight and curved patterns is the motion of a firebrand, so also the appearance of the perceiver and the perceived is the apparent notion of motion of consciousness. Okay, motion of consciousness. We know that consciousness does not move. Okay, it is nirvikara, and it's sakarta. There's no question of movement in consciousness, but due to the power of Maya, Maya presents a superimposition of namarupas in great dynamic movement. Okay, so how does that take place? It's exactly like the appearance of patterns when we sit on a stick, incense stick, and then we start moving it, and then we're gonna have all kinds of patterns. Okay, so this is the same thing. Due to this dynamic force called Maya, motion of that which is motionless occurs. So the firebrand is not really doing that. What is doing that is a certain motion that calls that manifestation to appear as in movement. And then he puts it in an analogy with the duality perceiver and perceived universe. You perceive everything. All of that is what? Is identical to these patterns created at the point, tip of the incense stick when we moved it in a dark room. So in a dark room, we do like that. We create a lot of small little patterns. And then Maya, when start moving the Prakriti, which is a superimposition upon consciousness, and then start create all kinds of patterns. And the most fundamental pattern is what? Jiva and Jagata. Jiva Jagata, experiencer and the experienced world. We perceive that, but it's just an appearance due to the motion superimposed, create, forced upon by this Maya Shakti. And he's going to really go several verses on this analogy, which is extremely helpful and beautiful. Just as a motionless firebrand is free from appearance and it's unborn. So when you turn on the stick of the incense and you keep it holding firm, so all the patterns, appearance, they're resolved. Why? There is no movement. There is no Maya Shakti moving it. So just as a motionless stick, a lit stick is free from patterns and appearance, so also the motionless consciousness is free from appearance and is unborn. Very beautiful analogy. So we have to do this. We get home when it's really dark, we turn on the incense, and then we hold it instead. And then there is no pattern, there is no creation, there is no plurality of patterns. So such is the nature of consciousness when Maya is not moving all its prakrits upon consciousness, creating the sense of moving dynamically, violently moving universe. Everything is moving in the universe, science says. And there is no movement. And if there is no movement, there is no appearance, because this moving world is not real and it is unborn. It's just a mere pattern created by Maya Shakti. So we have a torch with a handle and a flame on the end. This is the alatam. For the sake of explanation, let's just take the example and bring it to the incense stick or firebrand, which is a stick with a flame tip on one end. Gaudapada reveals Advaita, the nature of Advaita, through this example in a brilliant way. Imagine a dark room and you are in the room with a incense stick. The glowing tip represents Brahman and it does not move, which is one. And the surrounding darkness is the power of Maya, Tattva. Suppose you start moving the firebrand, even though it is one glowing tip. As it moves, it creates different patterns in the dark room, depending upon the type of movement. So we can go up and down, side to side, round. We can do any chaotic movement, and then it's going to create all kinds of patterns depending on the Shakti. Gaudapada called this movement of the stick Alata Spandanan. The patterns are Dvaitan, because several patterns, plurality of patterns comes out of something which is Advaitam. We have established already that if we don't move, there is no pattern. There is only what? Consciousness, there is only what? There is only the tip of this stick with light, with a little light. Gaudapada calls this movement Alatam. The patterns are Dvaitam because they are several patterns, they are diverse patterns, and they appear and disappear. Constant flux, appearing, disappearing, changing, exactly like Mitya, Jagata. Thus, we have Advaita Alatam and Advaita Abhasam. So the nature of this little tip, glowing tip of the stick is without any pattern. It's just one without a second. The moment we move it, we create plurality. Therefore, we have Advaita, Alatam, glowing tip, and Dvaita patterns, all kinds of patterns, appearance patterns. Advaita Alatam and Dvaita patterns are caused by Alata Spadanam. Firebrand, motion patterns are the two set of keywords here. Alatan is compared to Paramatma. The patterns are compared to the entire cosmos. Okay. So we have Brahman, which is the light of this apparent world. And then Maya moves this light. And then we have the entire cosmos with all kinds of pluralities of patterns. When Alatam is stationary, everything is resolved back in itself without any diversity of patterns. There is no constellation. There is nothing that we see on the sky. Nothing is there because Paramartana came back to motionless nature, meaning to say, Maya, give me a break. Okay, don't keep making all this movement upon myself because I want to rest. When alaton is stationary, there are no patterns. When alaton is in motion, the patterns appear. So by and via Vyatireka logic, motion is the cause of the appearance of the patterns. So motion, 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 the gunas, the energies that move, the energy of intelligence, pure, total knowledge, and then the energies of the pranas that makes all of this, appear dynamically moving. Then the energy of Tama, which gratifies to produce even the physical material universe, all of that appears. Motion belongs to the alaton. So alaton in motion alone appears as the cosmic universe made out of numberless patterns. Gaudapada says that consciousness in the dark room, the consciousness in the dark room called Maya has got different violent motions as it were in the form of thoughts. Beautiful. So now we have the dark room, we have the stick, consciousness is there, and then in the dark room, let's say, which is the ignorance aspect of Maya, absence of light. In the absence of light, light is a symbol of knowledge, darkness is a symbol of ignorance. Consciousness in the dark room of Maya has violent motions creating this apparent order of reality we call the cosmos. And these violent motions, as it were, in the form of thoughts. In the awakened dream state, consciousness seems to move and multiply because of thoughts resulting in experience like I am conscious of this wall, etc. So now he says that there is no difference between the physical material universe and the mental subtle world. This universe appears in the dream state due to thoughts. Consciousness in the dream world appears and moves because of thoughts. And those thoughts create the universe, the subtle universe of the dream state with all kinds of experience. Thus, one consciousness seems to become many. This plurality of experience is available also in the awakened state and the dream state. But in the deep sleep state, when the mind and the thoughts, the movement is not there, the mind and the thoughts, consciousness and the thoughts subside. A suppressed consciousness alone is present without any pattern, any change. The thought was suppressed, consciousness is there. And the pranian is having a good time, enjoying something close to its ananda nature, because there is only that consciousness. The thoughts upon it was suppressed, therefore there are no motions, there are no patterns. In that condition, there is no plurality experienced, and there is only Advaitam. In the dream state, as Swamiji has touched here, we have the mind all the time thinking and creating this mental realm of experience, emotional realm of experience, notions and feelings and thoughts. And all of that is experienced due to thoughts and in movement. But the thought was suppressed, and then we have a good time as Pranya Jiva. Consciousness in motion gives rise to Dvaita. Dvaita in both states, the waking and the dream state. In the awakening and the dream state, consciousness is in motion, but in deep sleep state, consciousness is at rest. Thus, consciousness in motion appears as the universe, as the world with multiple infinite patterns and behaviors. This is the Anyava Vyatireka logic. In the 47th verse, Anvaya is given, and in the 40th verse, Vyatireka is given. So two logics combined. The Anvyaya in the 47th verse is as follows. I was trying to figure it out more in details, but he's going to help us here. The appearance of a straight line or curved pattern is due to the motion of the firebrand. It's not due to the firebrand. It's not due to the light of consciousness, but it's the motion caused by Maya. Maya does not move consciousness, but moves a certain prakriti upon consciousness. The appearance of straight or curved patterns is due to motion. One consciousness itself gets divided into subject and object duality. So now we have the patterns, which begins with what? One pattern is Jiva, the other pattern is Jagata, okay? All of that due to the power of Maya. Just like one awaker gets divided into perceiver and perceived in dream state, one consciousness similarly gets divided into subject and object because of the seeming motion of Maya upon consciousness. Beautiful, huh? It is unbelievable. Even Swamiji says that it's unbelievable. I can't believe it. How Maya does do that? Quantum mechanics states that all objects in the world are not solid at all, are not tangible substance. They are just intangible energy in motion, and depends on the intensity of motion, it condenses or densifies to appear as physical material matter. Word is not solidly matter, tangible substance, but energy in motion. Vedanta goes one step further and says that consciousness in motion is the world. Consciousness associates with the Maya's power to move its prakrits upon consciousness, produce the world. Because consciousness is not subject to any motion, as we know. But
I love this. Sorry. I love this. I haven't heard it before in terms of motion. And motion is dependent on time and space. And so it really helps me see that teaching that consciousness is beyond time and space.
totally,
It's just marvelous.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah. All begins with space, as we know, the first element of this meteor universe. But then other energies appear to be a little bit more denser, creating inclusions in this fundamental element called space. And then the interaction between space and certain, a little more denser energies begin creating or configuring different objects. And then these objects are going to give us a sensation of distance. And space is only established when there are more than two things within space. Otherwise, there is no sense of space. But if there is one or two things, and then you start having a sense of space, which is determined by the time to reach one thing, from one thing to another. So time and space all derived from space and the development of air and then fire, water, and earth within space, giving us a structure we know as space and time. Consciousness is there as the adhisthana, supporting all of that without doing anything. It's just Maya who moves its prakrits upon consciousness, and we remain there just watching the show. You know? That's the purpose of this teaching, to allow us to watch this incredible magic show. The Vyatireka, the other theory, yeah, I have to understand better the distinction between 48 and 47. Here he was saying that it's the division is perceiver and perceived. Jiva and Jagat appears when consciousness, due to the power of Maya, begins creating different patterns. And then the following one is called the Vyatireka logic. When the firebrand stops moving and it sits in rest, all the patterns totally disappear. It's just like projection and retraction, projection and retraction. In this case, projection of the Maya energies to move energy upon consciousness, and then retraction of those energies. When the firebrand rests, like in the pralaya, all the patterns of the cosmos disappear. The firebrand remains the same. So the light of consciousness remains the same, without either being a cause or effect. There is no question of causality when everything rests in consciousness as consciousness. Similarly, in deep sleep state, the world disappears, and consciousness alone is present without any motion, without any object, without any pattern, without time and without space. The deep sleep state, in deep sleep state, the person cannot say, I sleep. No, the sleeping person cannot say in sleep that other people who are awake experience the world. So the sleeping person cannot say, oh, but other people experience the world. No, the person just does not experience any world. There is not any assessment because the person is not there. There are no thoughts there. There is no word. There is no experiencer, and therefore there is no experience. The sleeping person cannot say in sleep that other people are awake and they experience the same world. No, everything disappears. Because in sleep, the person cannot know that others are even present and awake. Even if there are people who experience the world while someone is sleeping, it's because consciousness is in motion in the experience people's in the awakening state. This is so beautiful. If all living beings would simultaneously sleep together at the same time, who could talk about an existing world? You know, one of the arguments against the logic of the unreality of the awakened world is, oh, because when I'm sleeping, anyhow, there are people awake and they experience the world does not disappear. It does not disappear. No, but for the people who are sleeping, it disappeared. And if by any chance everybody would sleep together, there would not be any testimonial saying that, no, the world was present, because somehow we all went to sleep. And that's exactly the case with pralaya. Maya stops the motion and say, okay, we go. I'm taking everybody to deep sleep here. I take Ishwara, Jiva, and Jagat, and then there is nobody experiencing the existing world. So the existing world is no longer. So even if there are people experience the world while you are in deep sleep, it's because consciousness is still in motion here and there. You understand? Consciousness is in motion. Why? Because the state, the mental state of the Jivatma in the awakened state, it allows motion and allow pattern. The mind of the Jivatma in the dream state allow motion and experience pattern. But the mind of Jiva in the deep sleep state does not allow any superimposition of motion and patterns. So if there are people experiencing the world while someone is sleeping, it's because consciousness is in motion in people's minds in the awakening state or in the dream state here and there. If all living creatures would fall in sleep, deep sleep simultaneously, who could talk about the existing world? This is so profound. It's not just philosophical, you know. Philosophy in its most poor, how do you say? In its most dry expression, is said to be like a blind person looking for a black cat in a dark room and a cat which is not even existing there. So that is philosophy, dry discussions. But this one here is so profound and there is so much truth to it. It's just very subtle. If all living beings would be resting deep sleep, who could talk about the existing world? The motionless of consciousness beyond the three states is free from any appearance and it's unborn, even in the awake of Maya. Even when Maya projects movement, the universe, the motionless nature of consciousness, which is the true nature of Jivatma's consciousness, is free from appearance, motion, and it is unborn. So we're gonna review this passage because it's very profound in our next class of the Mandukya. And very nice. Anything else, Lynn?
I was just thinking that last point, it fills out when Shankara says the world is unreal because we experience it. Experience is the only thing that provides mithya. So awareness being that seat, the adhishtanam, that provides for that. So yeah, let's do this verse again. Beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. Okie dokie. Are you with us, Sylvia?
Yes.
Good.
Present.
Present, like in the school. Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Until next Friday with the Gita.
Thanks, Arlindaji.
Thank you. Bye-bye.